Hey everybody, and welcome to our podcast show. On this week's podcast, we'll talk about some of the new announcements and product launches at this year's CES 2023. But before we do that, we'll start off the show by saying Happy New Year 2023.
Happy New Year.
Hey. All right. So what is CES? Well, CES stands for Consumer Electronics Show, and it started way back 56 years ago in 1967. Yeah, that long. The event is the biggest tech show in North America and is held every year at Las Vegas, aimed mostly at traders and retailers. But the latest figures show has been approximately 17,000 attendees, over 100 exhibitors. But over the last looking back, I would have been once 2020, but after that it was cancelled in 2021 due to the pandemic, and it's kind of reopened in 2022, but with low attendance, of course. But this year in 2023, hopefully it'll be fully reopened and the numbers will go back to pre-pandemic levels. So, Stephen, I assume you've been to CES many times. So tell us your experience.
Well, CES before for me was actually COMDEX. COMDEX was the show that I went to first. COMDEX, my first show was in 2000, and that was the show I went to. And eventually COMDEX went away because there was less room for just a PC computer-related event because of the oncoming smartphone, tablet revolution and everything like that. So I did have a chance to meet Bill Gates. I did have a chance to meet Steve Ballmer. Those were the days where the show focused on the computer industry. Those were the parties that you remembered. I actually had a chance to meet Uncle Jensen Huang, who's giving master classes right now on all sorts of things that we'll find out. And a lot of the people that were there, COMDEX melded into CES because the show was just no longer. I can't remember which year that stopped being a thing, but it took over the slot in the year where everyone converged in one place. Now at CES, you have computer stuff, you have all sorts of things happening and we will talk a lot about certain things that are coming out. We'll also have more news on it as the week of CES unfolds because we're a little bit early. We're a little bit early right now. A lot of our friends that are still in the media industry right now are now on the floor. I know Anshul Sag is there from More Insights. I know several other, The Verge is there. Gizmodo is there with limited staff and everything because they are still taking precautions. They want their staff healthy, which is to be commended as well too, because they want them working. And CES itself expects there to be a 70% increase in the number of attendees this year. However, I didn't see any numbers on the number of companies that are returning because I know for a fact that a lot of the and don't get me wrong, I love trade shows and everything, a little bit at a time, but we've learned that trade shows don't always have to be in person, and a lot of the companies are actually doing virtual events. They're still booking press briefings for CES. They're still announcing news through the CES portal, which they still pay for because a lot of people still file their news through the CES portal. So we're still going to see a lot of great products announced. We'll just see it differently. We won't have to run around the trade show floor to go from Bellagio to
that's one of the main complaints I have is it's not in one place, which you expect from a trade show. It's in different hotels, and and you have to go from one place to another. It's a bit of a nightmare.
It's almost impossible.
So literally you have to book all your appointments or attendees in one hotel on that day, for example, and then move on to the next hotel the next day. I think that'll be easier. And that's how I planned it last time.
Previous to before the pandemic and everything, I was actually booking I was actually out of CES the day after the show started because I would do all of my appointments, all of the the pre-show stuff. I would actually have that all done, and then I would be editing video by the next day after the show whilst people were still on the show floor. And the funny thing is that I actually never got to see much of the show floor, which kind of sucked for me because that was actually one of the things I would want to do, is just to go to a CES just once. And not have to do appointments and just see people at the party after.
Yeah. The party's
Like,
good.
honestly,
I
that's
mean,
all I wanted.
Yeah, that's the thing that really attracts most of the traders and media people is the parties that they throw after the show at the end is great. Yeah.
So if next year maybe someone wants to just throw me a pass and I won't sign up as press at all.
Yeah,
I
we'll
just
go.
want to see the show.
That's right.
I just want to go.
Yeah, we'll
That's
go.
all.
We'll go. We'll definitely go because there's a lot of places and a lot of people that we haven't seen for many years. And like talking to Alex May in one of our shows. He knows us from way back from OZZ days. Remember them?
Yes.
And so there's a lot. We've been around, guys. Me and Stephen have been around in the tech industry for many years.
Yeah.
So
like the computer parties. Like if you go to any one of these parties, it's someone that we know that's running it, and then all of a sudden the room turns around. What? Steven?
Steven. Oh, it's Winston. Oh,
what are you doing here? What are you doing here?
Yeah, it's great. It's
You're
great.
Back?
Yeah, we're back. Yeah, it's fun. It's definitely one of those events that you want to be in. Afterwards, the parties and stuff like that. But also, it's nice to meet people in face to face.
And one show that we're actually looking forward to is COMPUTEX, and I know I know that COMPUTEX Taiwan trade and also their affiliates are sending 96 companies to CES that aren't going themselves, but they're basically from their incubation startups. 96 startups are going to CES to present their products and also their innovations and hopefully be there to show off. One of them is an AI-powered baby. Like it understands the baby's emotions.
Wow.
It's
by facial recognition, all that kind of stuff.
I don't know exactly because it was just text, but I'm curious to see how that works out. So maybe we'll see that at COMPUTEX one year.
Yeah. Well, I think this is something that we're planning to do. Me and Stephen, definitely going to COMPUTEX. We've got plenty of time to plan it, but obviously, speaking to the vendors and all the other people out there. So we need to do something for that for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like COMPUTEX is another show that we will talk about later on in the year, but let's focus on CES. So, Winston, there's obviously some computer stuff going on. At CES
so your uncle Jensen, is planning to relaunch the RTX 4080 12 gigabytes to the new name. They renamed it, and they're going to launch it as an RTX 4070 Ti. So yes, that's something new, and they haven't actually officially announced it, but we'll probably hear about it actually at the CES. So we'll be seeing a lot of manufacturers releasing their custom cards, what they call custom cards. So they're not based on the reference cards, but they're going to have extra cooling on there, better, faster memory, and so on and so on, RGB lighting, that kind of stuff, right? So apparently, it's going to be about 5% faster than the previous gen RTX 3090 Ti, which is I'm not 100% convinced. But
5%? Why would I pay 5%? I would rather buy the previous generation card.
Well, anyway,
it's probably a better value.
Yeah. Well, it actually costs $799 now, so it was $100 off from the original price of $899. So that's something interesting. So we will see a lot of that in CES with announcements and stuff like that from Uncle Jensen.
Well, I don't want to pile on Uncle Jensen, but also Auntie Sue.
Oh, Auntie Sue, AMD.
Lily, what's her name?
Elisa.
I can't remember.
Elisa Sue.
Yep. Auntie.
Auntie Sue.
You also have something to answer for, and that's the fact that you have just launched your new RTX series.
The RX 7900.
7900. So the previous couple times where you launched it was okay.
Yeah.
This time you basically shot across the bow of Uncle Jensen, and you said that these cards don't require extra power. They're exactly the same size as regular cards.
Yeah.
And they will not fry.
Yeah, that's right. You just basically take the old card out, put it in. You don't need any new power supply. You don't need any new cables. It just basically runs a lot faster with improved drivers and things like that. So that's commendable.
However,
go ahead,
Auntie. Your cards have air gaps in them.
Yeah, apparently,
Your cards have air gaps in them that are actually the temperature reading is 110 Celsius. if I'm not mistaken, which is enough to boil water or burn your hand significantly.
Yeah.
So, and these are only spots on your CPU die, which means that there's something underneath that's causing a potential weak spot in your die, which could potentially cause a catastrophic failure in your GPU, because a single point of failure means that it's going to magnify inside a highly packed and condensed CPU die, right? I know you guys have done really amazing with your die shrinks and everything, unlike Intel, but these spots are going to cause problems. And we've already seen some issues where not only have the temperatures gone all the way up to 110, but it's actually affected the rest of the die because it started throttling everything. So it may just be 1 point, but your performance overall has been dropping. So I know that Power Color Steve, he's one of the board partners, and AMD still has many board partners. But him and probably a couple others are taking feedback from customers. Doesn't matter which vendor, but they want to know what your results are and what's happening with the throttling and everything. They're taking data in just to figure out how they can address the issue, right? Because like we mentioned in previous podcasts where like when Nvidia screws up and all these GPUs have to be returned, what will happen if this issue becomes a widespread problem?
I think with a lot of these new releases is that I think they've rushed them out without properly testing, and they probably think, oh, we'll fix it up with some driver releases and stuff like that.
Fix it in software.
We'll fix it in software. So without properly testing and having it to mass market, I think one of these problems is, like you said, overheating and things like that. And also with custom cards, the cooling that they have is not specific or specified to AMD's supposedly original design. It could be having a bigger heatsink, better fans, and especially with the new drivers and especially with like the cards and manufacturers, they put the fans not constant, so it's only powered on when it's 100% load or whatever. Then what happens to the rest of the fan? It doesn't actually spin. If you notice the cards, they don't spin, right? The fans. It's only when it's when it's a little bit of GPU load, then it spins to cool effective cooling. So what can be addressed? I don't know. It could be a recall. I don't know. Software would fix it.
Deal.
I don't know.
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Though AMD is not the only culprit here. I mean, Nvidia has also been similar issues with their overheating graphics cards and stuff like that.
But this is like a single point of contact inside their die, which means that there's an air gap somewhere, which means that it's like a solder point. You're basically melting everything on a single point inside your die. If it was spread out, it would be easier to address because the board partners could help it out. But is there some way to shut off this one area of the die? It might be a firmware issue that they're addressing, who knows? But some of the people that were some of the early adopters, some people that had bought AMD Radeon's this new series of cards, both the 899 model and the 999 models, they bought them directly from AMD, and this is a similar model that Nvidia is doing, where they're selling reference cards direct. People tried to return them because they thought this was a defect, and they were denied their returns. AMD did not. AMD says that this shouldn't happen, but apparently their fulfillment partner, Digital River, which is a lot of companies use because it's just easy. They just do the logistics, ship everything. This is not AMD's policy, and I guess there's some miscommunication. So hopefully, if people feel that strongly about the GPUs and the way that this is manifesting itself, that they do get some relief being able to return it. $1,000 is a lot of money. It's
a lot of money, yeah. And there's some advice here. So always, well, for me anyway, I never buy the first batch. I never be an early adopter, because you're going to run into problems, right? And I usually say, okay, I'll wait for, say, 3 months to half a year. Then I'll figure out, hey, prices could drop anyway. So that's my advice. Don't go straight in, early adopter. You can expect issues. Right?
So, and it's unfortunately, because of the competition between Nvidia and AMD, it was too good to be true. that they would have a cheaper card that's less involvement by the consumer to upgrade their system, to pay less money. Something had to give, and now we know what it is. Now, because there is interest from board partners to help fix this, maybe everyone together, because I know AMD tends to want to work with everyone more so than the other team. They'll find a solution together. Maybe it is just a piece of the die that needs to be turned off. Maybe it's something that they can do together.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll come up with a fix. I mean, at the end of the day, both of them are multi-billion-dollar companies, right? You're gonna find a fix somewhere. So that's not a big issue. Issue now, yes, $1,000, but we'll find a solution.
A lot of money. All right.
Okay, so that's Nvidia's news. Relaunching their RTX 4070 Ti. Hopefully, at $799. That's sounding quite attractive. So
I wonder how it compares though to an $899 7900 series.
Yeah,
like without the problem.
In a perfect world.
In a perfect world,
hopefully we'll see the difference.
No new power supply to be purchased, no new connectors, features, no melting.
Well, yeah, it's something like you said, something bound to give, right? As technology move on to smaller dies, into like smaller 2-3 nanometers, you're gonna get something's gonna give, right? In a form of heat.
Now, speaking of very technology that like maybe crawls at a glacial pace, the refrigerator, the home refrigerator, is getting an upgrade. Samsung, I know that everyone's seen these funky fridges at the Best Buy where they have a screen on it. And they've been doing some work in that space to kind of revolutionize the home appliance. I mean, one of the things that people keep for a very long time that use every day that, even if you spend a couple grand for it, it's still one of the cheapest appliances that you own because you use it so many times is the refrigerator. So spending, a little bit more money on something that will last for a decade is not bad. But because Samsung is looking at packing all this technology into it, who is going to support that refrigerator and software updates for a decade? Well, Samsung is still going at it. And their latest fridge, they call it the Bespoke Edition appliances. We're going to talk about two. The first one is the 4-door Flex Family Hub Plus. Now, this is a 4-door refrigerator.
4 doors.
With two cooling sections down at the bottom. So that's 4 doors. One of the doors in the top, the right-hand one, is actually a 32-inch touchscreen.
Oh, 32-inch, just bigger than mine.
32-inch touchscreen. Okay. This screen is capable of not only displaying all of the Samsung TV Plus, which is free TV over the air. You can watch TV, stuff like that. But you can also do Google Photos. Amazon is on board.
All right. Okay.
So you can order groceries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they expect new integrations as these develop for the fridge. And also previously to that, there will be some technology that allows you to scan things as they come and go out of the fridge so that you can, pre-populate your grocery list and order them. This will probably be a lot easier in the US because Whole Foods is owned by Amazon wholly owned in the US, and they're well integrated. So in some of these centers, they also have Amazon Fresh. Is it Amazon Fresh stores?
Fresh, I heard of Fresh.
We can just go in and just leave.
Yeah, they scanned you.
They scanned you already. They know who you are. So this new fridge not only does it have the screen and everything, but it also has antibacterial stuff, blah, blah, blah. It's really well refined on the inside. It's got, water, ice, and everything like that. It's your typical high tech fridge. And you're going to get color options. So you can, because it's bespoke, you can get a different.
Oh, you can have your own design.
Different color.
Okay, different color.
On the outside. Because you have 4 panels. So one is a screen, but the other 3 you can have a different color.
Right.
And it's a massive fridge. So if you have a regular fridge in the space that you have right now,
it won't fit.
This will not fit.
So what about what do you call them? Built-in fridges in certain, designs in the kitchen? Because I know my friend has it looks like a cupboard, but you pull it out, it's a fridge.
Yeah.
So it's a fitted fridge, right?
This is it is a regular fridge, but they're taking the fitted design
Right.
and giving this the ability for it to be integrated into any home. So it's not actually inside a cabinet. It just gives you another option to maybe make it look like it is.
Okay.
And this moves on to the other product. Like, it seems like it's a cheaper one, but they also have another model, also a bespoke edition, which has 2 panes, freezer and also a regular refrigerator. It also has an auto opening thing, which I'm sure will be very handy if you have a lot of groceries. But this scenario, I tend to actually put my groceries on the counter and put them in separately rather than holding them all and shoving them into the fridge. It seems like a non-issue to me. All I see is the fridge opening and closing, and wasting my electricity.
That's what happens when you have family, right? Kids, they just open the fridge and then sometimes they just leave it.
Like, well, hopefully it closes by itself, right?
But that's what you want, right?
Yeah, I hope so. And it does have a dual ice maker, so it does do like little crinkle ice and also bigger ice cubes. Their competitor LG actually had one that did spherical ice cubes for your whiskey, but this one does not do that. It will be it has a pitcher that fills itself with filtered water, but my experience with filters is that they go bad really fast.
Yeah, and don't they break as well? Because if you don't maintain it properly, right?
Yeah, so it gets gunked up and everything like that. So I mean, you need to buy these filters. The filters are like $60, and you need to replace them every 6 months.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of money. There is antibacterial technology inside, and there will be 5 color options available. I believe that's in most markets. Again, both of these fridges, no pricing, but judging by what they've cost in the past, you're looking at $4,000.
Yeah, $4,000 to $5,000. I mean, I've seen these fridges a few years ago without all these fancy stuff, right? Like you know, supposedly connect to like your home, smart home stuff like that. But it never really took off. Or am I incorrect in saying that? I mean, if it took off, right? Every home, I would say every home. I would say a majority of homes will have it, right? But I don't see many homes having this kind of.
I'll tell you one thing. When I shopped for my fridge, all I wanted was the maximum amount of storage for the least amount of space. That was all I was concerned about.
So they look at the liter capacity. Is that right?
I looked at as much stuff I could shove in the fridge. The biggest freezer, the biggest top section. I looked at the cubic footage of the fridge internally where I can shove my stuff into it. Because you have limited space, you want as much storage inside. So I was looking for a fridge that was, like it still had the a good power rating. Because if you have a thinner fridge, you might have less insulation. So a thinner fridge with better insulation is actually better than the fat internal fridge with no insulation, right? So I'm quite happy with my fridge. It's been going for the last 6-7 years, and I hope to keep it longer. But the one thing that scares me about these two, especially the 4-door Flex hub fridge, less so with the other model, is the fact that software updates will need to be applied.
Oh, so it's literally a computer, but it's a fridge.
It's a computer, right? Because there's a 32-inch touchscreen that runs an OS that has to have Amazon. And if you don't have the latest security updates, connecting to the internet and everything will actually be problematic, because if your fridge doesn't keep up with these security updates, you can't access certain stores. So you may lose Google Photos. You may lose Amazon.
What about the actual temperature controls of the fridge? I mean,
all touchscreen. And that's the problem as well too. If they're touchscreen controls, if the touchscreen dies, well, guess what? You can't control your fridge anymore. right?
Yeah.
So problem.
That's something that they need a manual kind of
something like that allows you to, at least at the very least, keep the last settings and just let the screen
a manual override that they need.
Exactly. And they've taken this technology to stoves as well too. Like for me, stoves are probably something that I want as little tech in it as possible.
Yeah.
Because their new bespoke AI ovens are almost all touchscreen.
Oh man. I mean,
no handles either.
You're talking about heat, fire, right? Yeah. That's like dangerous if you gotta have control over that, right?
Yeah.
You can't just let a computer with touchscreen controls.
Yeah, so there's a huge touchscreen. It's I think there's 1 or 2 knobs, but it's basically flush. Yeah. And there's no handle to pull it open anymore. So you basically push it for it to pop open. I don't like that. I like to kind of open it just a little bit and close it really fast just to check on things.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how this will work, but I hope that there's 2 open modes where you double tap for it to open a little bit, and maybe tap twice or hold the tap for it to open all the way. Still, though, if you have oven mitts on, you know, you're flap. Like I want a physical handle.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I'm not
definitely.
sure.
I want to be able to yank it out open just in case if something gets burnt in there, I need to like whip it out quickly, right?
Yeah.
So I need that.
Now, there is an AI in the name, and this is basically that there's a bunch of sensors inside. Sensors again, right? Heat sensors. It has AI sensors that will detect things from burning. It's good for bad cooks, maybe, because they tend to keep things in there for too long. So it might have sensors that'll shut it off. It keeps things going, or it'll just scream at you. It recognizes over 80 dishes and their ingredients. Whether or not this is by scanning the food inside or when you put it in, I'm not sure where the scanning happens. I'm hoping it's not inside the oven, because I don't know a camera that can withstand that type of heat. Like, you're putting up to 550 degrees inside the oven. How is that going to survive, right?
Well, I've seen those what do you call them, wireless thermometers that I've seen, and I've seen them put them into the meat and shove it in the oven. So
I have one too, but
does it actually work? It works, right?
Yeah, but this requires a camera to recognize the ingredients or something. Like, how do you recognize 80 dishes, right? Like, how? I don't get it, right? And this comes in 5 color options. So to me, this is probably more of a fashion cooking statement than anything else. Because I cook, you cook. We know that this stuff needs to be as dumb as possible. So it actually works.
Yeah, I mean, it's for people who don't really.
They don't really cook.
Yeah, they don't really cook. It's just something fancy they put in. Like, it's having like one of those blenders, those expensive blenders. It's just there, right?
It's just there. It's a fashion
or huge coffee, expensive. If you see those coffee machines, they're expensive. Some of those expensive coffee machines.
If you use it, that's different.
Yeah, my brother's got one that's like $600, and it's just sitting there. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He whips out his instant coffee.
In instant coffee like that, like a Keurig, I totally get. That's garbage.
Yeah.
I do understand though, if you spend $10,000 on an espresso maker with like 4 and the steamer and everything like that, there's a reason for it to be that big.
Expensive,
in this case, because it's an AI touch oven, because there is software upgrades required to increase its AI capability, because it connects to the internet, and because it gets really freaking hot.
Yeah,
I don't like this.
That one's not for me. No, I'll leave that one.
This is not somewhere that I see technology being awesome. Like, what I would like to see though is, because I have to use a temperature probe for most of the meats and everything in there. If there was some way to have an integrated temperature probe that was wireless, you plug it in, it senses that it's there wirelessly. I don't know if that technology is available. Maybe it uses the heat to power itself, but that would kill fewer people, because I know people out there that can't cook chicken and they're killing their families, or they're having really uncomfortable conversations about going to the bathroom after having your casserole. So that would be useful, right? I mean, we don't need more of this.
We will probably see a lot more smart home tech, kitchen tech, that kind of stuff at the CES. So we'll probably see, like I said, fridges, stoves. We'll probably see like just general home tech
makers and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's another industry I think has lots more room to grow. Yeah, definitely.
I think we're popping back into displays now, right? With the PC
displays.
Stuff.
So Alienware has announced they will be showcasing their there's 2 monitors actually that actually grabbed my attention. The first is Alienware's 500 hertz monitor, right?
Yes.
500 hertz. So I didn't even know it can go up to 500 hertz. There's me with 144 hertz, which is more than enough,
tiny.
Right? Right.
It's so small.
And I know, well, a couple of years ago, they started doing 165 hertz, 185, 200, 240 hertz. I thought, wow, nobody's going to use that. But apparently the gamers, they're into that esports stuff. They want those high refresh rates. That's fine. But 500 hertz, that's just crazy. Well, this monitor is Alienware's top kind of, it's not the biggest one. It's their top lineup. 25-inch in size around, possibly.
Tiny.
IPS panel. And I couldn't believe it, but it's only 1080p, so 1920 by 1080.
Yeah, come on, guys. This got to be 4K or nothing.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So this one, for 480 hertz on native DisplayPort. So you just plug in the DisplayPort cable in there. If your graphics card or your laptop supports a high refresh rate, it will go all the way up to 480 hertz. Okay. Now, I didn't know actually, but monitors can be overclocked, and hence 500 hertz. Yeah. Right? So you overclock it to 500 hertz, and with a deep, only DisplayPort, because HDMI can't handle that.
Yeah.
No price yet, but I expect to pay probably well over $1,000, possibly up to $2,000 for this, because it is world's first 500 hertz monitor. It didn't say it was for gaming, but 1080p at 500 hertz, I don't see a need for it.
Okay. Well, you have to wonder though, right? We own, like most of us own a 60 hertz monitor, and we've had it for 10 years. The reason why is because it's not being pushed that hard.
Yeah.
Now we have 480 hertz monitors, and now you're talking about overclocking the chip, the timing, the what's that? It's the crystal inside or whatever. The chip that controls the timings of the monitor and everything are now being overclocked. How long do you think this monitor will last in comparison to everything else that we bought in the past? But I think there's going to be an issue.
Yeah. Well, with any overclocking, it shortens the lifespan. So expect to have maybe like a couple of years use out of it, to be honest with you.
No.
Yeah.
This is so bad.
But it's Alienware. So it's the kind of, everybody says, oh, Alienware. You bring out a laptop Alienware. It's like, oh, bring out the monitor. It's like, I think they were one of the first with collaboration with, because they're owned by Dell, right? So they have the Dell monitors. You see a lot of their technology in Alienware stuff as well.
Yeah. And Dell's monitors are made by BenQ or AOC in Taiwan. So they're come from a very reputable company. They have a lot of technology, but when you start pushing stuff that has been running at 60 hertz for so long.
Apparently, our human eye can only go up to like 60 odd hertz, isn't it?
1,000 hertz. We can see up to 1,000 hertz.
We can see 1,000 hertz. I thought after the, you can't see any difference.
You can see the difference between 60 and 120, 120 and 240.
I see that.
It has to be a doubling effect, because otherwise we don't notice it. So if I had this monitor in front of me, first of all, I would say, what the hell with the resolution? Like bump that up. But 480 hertz, I'm for sure that you would be able to tell the difference for sure. It would be definitely more still, more realistic and everything like that. But one thing that I'm kind of wondering about is, if this is a 25-inch IPS panel, it has 480 hertz on it, how dim is the panel?
Oh, it must it should have a really high contrast ratio, right, to get that brightness out.
But the nits is going to be very low, because with this type of refresh rate, I think something had to give. I think this monitor is going to be super dim, and you're going to need to use this in your gaming cave.
Your man cave.
You won't be able to use it in an office, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I don't think that's possible, right? I tested out a laptop with a 240 hertz display. I cranked up and this is one thing I should have mentioned. I forgot to mention it, is that the display seemed really, really dim to me. It just didn't go up very high. And it was my mistake for not mentioning it when I was playing with that. But for the record, I thought it was very dim. I don't see this being very bright. Yeah, to be perfectly honest.
I think if you are going to go get some monitors, 144 hertz, possibly 165, even up to 200 hertz is more than enough. Right,
I like my 120. It looks great.
Yeah,
my 120 is fine.
I'm using. I think I'm using AOC. A 144 is fine. Especially if you're going for gaming as well. You're not going to spend huge amounts of money to get that extra refresh rate, which you're not going to see much difference unless you're going pro, which, there's no need. Yeah. But 144 hertz, more than enough.
My BenQ, it does do 144. It supports Nvidia G-Sync and everything like that. It was, this thing's like 7 years old.
Oh wow! So you got the earliest models of those high refresh rate monitors. Okay,
and it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. I mean, I've got one. I think this company, they're probably the same panels as what you call it, BenQ, like you said, or it could be LG. But we've seen smaller versions of the monitors like this one, like 24-inch, 27-inch. going up to those high refresh rate because they're able to support that with a lower screen, a smaller screen. Imagine this was a 32 or a 30 whatever inch screen, then I don't think you'll be able to support 500 hertz.
Yeah,
so
this is
the smaller screens can do that. Yeah. All right. Secondly,
here's something interesting. Yes.
Yeah. Secondly, we have Corsair XENEON Flex bendable gaming monitor. This is just like, totally. This
looks cool.
Wow. This is like, it's basically a 45-inch size monitor, wide OLED panel, 3440 times 4040. So it's a 1440 resolution monitor, 21 by 9 aspect ratio. With a 240 hertz refresh rate. That's not bad. Very nice. Yep. G-Sync compatible and AMD FreeSync. $2,000. So it's
not terrible.
It's not terrible. I think that's about correctly priced. So what it is basically a flat monitor. As normal. You could do that. And it has handles on the side, which you can just pull out like that from either side of the monitor, and you can just bend it.
Yeah, you know what?
That's
the
like,
bend.
Yeah,
like the bend of a monitor is actually very personal. I find that with my 34-inch Dell, the bend is just right, but I could use just a little bit more if I really wanted to, because I just like the periphery, right?
You can bend it into different curvatures, they call them, right? It says the 1600R, 1800R, depending on the curvature of the viewing.
This is innovative. This is very innovative.
That's really good, because now they're using who makes all the bendable screens? Samsung, right? So I'm sure it's a Samsung panel.
LG
probably
has some as well too. So Samsung and LG. Yep.
So you can basically bend it to your preference, and if you don't like it, you just bend it back, put the handles back in, and you've got a flat monitor. So it's something I saw on their press release. That was just a press release about a month ago, but we'll see that in CES, and I love to see how that actually works, because the monitor resolution is the same. The curvature, how bendable is it? And will you see the actual bends? Like you said, your Flip 4, you can see that bend when you flip it over, right?
I can. Yep, I can.
But will we see that bend kind of work or not work with the monitor like this?
I think this is probably more of flexible displays. I mean, they're great, but my phone folds. This is just a flex, so it's never actually really folding. So I don't think there's going to be a seam issue. What I think will probably be the bigger issue here is whether or not we're going to see localized or weird patches of lighting, because I am curious as to how this is backlit. It is a OLED monitor. It's going to have great blacks, but it's also going to be less brightness because of those deep blacks. So I wonder if we're going to see some localized patches where it's like it's too bright in one section. How is that going to get controlled? Is it going to be bright enough for most rooms? And this was my same concern with the Alienware being such a high refresh rate, is that maybe it won't be as dim as we need it, won't be as bright as we need it to be for most situations. It's definitely very innovative. Like I like what they've done, and I like the fact that they support both Nvidia G-Sync and FreeSync, which means that you have more options, right? 2000, it's not a lot for something like this, but I think you have to build a room for this.
I mean, like for example, you do a lot of video editing, so do I. Curved monitor is not the best for it. A flat monitor would be better, and this is something I could use for video editing. Flat monitor. But I'm gaming or watching a movie or something like that, I could just bend it, right? So that's something, and this monitor is not small. I mean, in size, it's 45 inch. So you're looking at, a very big desk space that you need for this. Or you could hang on the wall, which doesn't make sense if you hang on the wall, right? So
I don't mind the curve either, because then that way you can have part of your monitor flat for other stuff, and you have part of the curve so you can see all out of the left hand of your eye. Twitter and what Elon Musk has said again. I mean, there is that novelty to having one side bent over so you can see everything at a glance, so you don't have to look away from the front of the screen, which will be pretty neat. That's definitely something very innovative from Corsair, and I gotta hand it to these guys. They're doing some really great stuff.
They've come up with some really interesting products, and I'll probably be able to see more manufacturers following suit if they haven't patented that kind of design already.
Well, they're a bunch of smart guys. We know a bunch of them, right?
Yeah.
They definitely have their pulse on the gaming community, and they're on Reddit as well too. They listen to all the comments, so I know that they're in there listening to what some of us are saying, and maybe they will hear what we're saying as well too. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
True,
So, but no, I'm innovation. I love this, and if they start to keep developing this, I think this is going to be really great. The only thing that I have I'm not seeing here is the Adobe RGB gamut, and whether or not it's going to be color accurate. I know that like, again, bending something or having something that is able to bend like that, there might be some pros and cons to that when it comes to color accuracy, perhaps.
Yeah.
So we don't have that spec. Maybe it is 100% sRGB gamut. Maybe it's not.
Yeah, I think monitors like these are designed for gaming as well as home use. Not really for the professional photographer / kind of production kind of professional, but for $2,000, and you got this new technology, new design with pretty high spec, 45-inch as well. Yeah, not bad at all.
It'll be nice. Be nice.
Right, you got some roundup for us. What have we got?
Yeah, it's a bit of a roundup because, of course, CES being a consumer electronics show, and the fact that a lot of EVs are now becoming more and more like electronics, because they have a battery, they have an interface, and they have a drive system. The drive system is the only thing that separates them from, say, a major tablet or anything, right? It's just bigger, right? So one of the things that I saw from the many press releases that came out is that Stellantis, they're a huge brand. They're based in the Netherlands, so they're Dutch.
Okay,
right? And they have Fiat. They have like what's that other brand? Alfa Romeo. They have a lot of European brands inside of it.
Brands,
So one of the brands that they purchased, I think it was a little while ago. I can't exactly remember the date, but they actually purchased Dodge.
Dodge? That's Chrysler, isn't it?
That used to be Chrysler.
Yeah.
Used to be Chrysler. So Dodge and Jeep are part of the Stellantis family, and the Stellantis family is going electric. When I was in Italy, I saw so many cool EV cars in those cities, right? Okay. And in these ancient cities, getting electricity to your vehicle was not a problem, right?
So they need to get charged, right? I mean, of course, with the plug and everything. So how would they get charged because you need that infrastructure there, right?
Yeah, the infrastructure was there, like coming out of cobblestone.
Oh, really?
In the Colosseum. Like, I mean, there's charging stations everywhere, but you have to also remember that the density of these places is actually not that, it was very high.
Yeah.
So the average commute is actually a lot lower. So if you charge once a week, it's probably okay. And chargers were dotting all of the maps that I was looking at, because I was just curious. There's a lot of EVs here. Where are they getting their charge? And you know what? They're getting their charge because they don't drive that far. And because the speed limits inside the city is very low, most EVs don't even use a lot of electricity to propel themselves, right? The lower the speed, the less electricity that you use, your range goes way up. So if you're looking at someone in Europe driving exactly the same car, you might see them having 600 to 700 kilometers. You may only be able to get half that on North American roads because we drive so much. So one of the places where there's going to be a lot of polarization is two of the brands. Actually, we'll talk about the one that's going to have the most polarization. Is that every dude that has a truck that's raised with big tires, it's probably a Dodge. It's probably a Dodge, right? And the Dodge Ram 1500 Rev is what they're going to call their EV, and the Dodge Charger EV are coming. They are coming to North America. They're both going to make funny noises.
So the Dodge, Dodge that you saw, or they're coming, is designed over in Europe. Is that what you're saying? And then production is going to be...
No, I think this is going to be basically the Dodge team being able to grab technology from the Stellantis portfolio.
Oh, right.
And then work with the Stellantis accountants to be able to build vehicles that fit within a certain demographic price point.
So we've already seen the Ford Lightning, right? Is that the Lightning F50, 150?
Yes.
So basically now Dodge is going to be building an electric truck, competing against that. That kind of
in this demographic, and of course, keep in mind though, 75 to 85% of the people that buy a truck do not tow a single thing.
They don't.
They are going to go after the 80% of the market that wants something that looks like a truck, has sufficient range, and carry stuff. And maybe you go fishing with it. Maybe you go out and get
I think a lot of people
supplies.
in North America, they like the outdoors, go fishing,
they like the look
go hunting. They just want to put everything, boom, in the truck at the back and then drive off. But a lot of people don't, truck drivers, they know. But a lot in Europe, they don't realize that a truck, it's not just a 2-seater and then you got space at the back to put your stuff. It's actually a 4-seater. You can actually fit passengers at the back. Like a normal, car. Then you got that extended thing at the back where you put all your equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the Dodge Ram 1500 EV is based on the Dodge 1500, which is a vehicle that has an extended cab. So they'll probably have different versions of it. So longer cab, shorter cab. One thing that is rumored, and I don't know if this is a joke, but they are going to put a generator inside it. There's a range extender. So you can still pump gas into it. I don't know if this is diesel or if it's regular high test gas, but it'll actually
so it's like a generator as part of the car where you can actually put gas in there just in case that your charge is out. You can just use the generator to charge your car.
I know.
Okay.
I know. So I don't know how this is going to work exactly. Maybe it'll be EV first and then jumps in. There's not going to be an engine in this thing. But it's going to extend the range using like a lawnmower, right? I don't know how this is going to be done. I don't have enough information. But both of them will have truck and charger noises.
Right.
So they'll make noises.
Like an audible noise coming from the truck. Like how passengers and people on the side on the street will hear it as well.
It's more egotistical than that. It's like when you put baseball cards in your spokes or a pop bottle on your tire for your bicycle when you're a kid.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They're going to put the authentic Dodge Charger and Dodge Ram shifting noises and the burble of the exhaust. Like, I mean, this is juvenile. Come on, guys. Juvenile.
Well, believe it or not, if people actually haven't heard how an EV sound, you hear a Tesla drive past. There's no sound at all.
It makes no noise.
That's probably why one of the reasons people don't like it, because sometimes it's like, what? It's like ghostly. It's like,
no,
what?
It just goes.
It just goes.
It's gone. Bye.
Yeah, there's no noise at all. So if you're driving something like a truck, you're used to that noise. You're used to that kind of, So I think they want that back in an electric truck.
Maybe, but all the benefits of an EV are silence and economy and efficiency. And I think that, I don't know.
You can download your own sounds. Steve.
Maybe. You can make it sound like another vehicle. You could probably hack it. There's definitely speakers in both of these vehicles that I've heard that will allow it to get quite loud to under the specified police range, decibel range, right? But yes, both of these vehicles will polarize the entire base, because the people that will buy them will not be the traditional base. The people that will buy them potentially will be the people that will be trolling the current base.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's something to show off, kind of thing, right?
It's something to show off. It's like the charger that they have will beat every charger that they've ever made at half the price, because those cars are not cheap, right? They're not cheap, right? So it's easier for them to build something with two motors and sufficient battery, but the range will probably suck at these things.
Yeah,
potentially, right? Again, don't know enough about them. Some things about them, but not a lot.
Their main competitor is the Ford Lightning F-150, right? Which is,
I don't even know if that's true, because this Ram, we know nothing about towing capacity. There's probably some stuff out there, but for a Dodge Ram
Yeah.
buyer to accept this, it's got a tow. It's got to have the ability to go into the woods. So the range extender makes sense. And it's got to do truck things.
Truck
right?
things.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
whatever the heck
It's
they
off
think they
road,
are.
right? It needs
Right?
to be off road. It needs to go to
Yeah.
all terrain. You know, whether it's like the mud, uphill, downhill, whatever, in like I said, in the woods.
Yeah. But in doing the truck things, you make the efficiency of the thing less so.
Oh yeah.
So the range will suffer.
The range will suffer
greatly.
And like you said, it makes sense to have the range extender, because then you need that extra juice to get yourself somewhere.
You know what? I don't know if this is a pride thing, but they can still go to the gas station and talk to their buddies.
Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just weird to me. It's a strange vehicle. I hope they do well with it. I don't know how this is gonna.
When is it gonna come out?
I think this is 2024, 2025 timeframe.
So you got some time to figure out whether it's the one for you.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see what they look like in person. Probably drivable prototypes, but probably not a lot of range.
Yeah.
So just to see what it sounds like and everything like that, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Okay.
But that was probably the most interesting news so far, because it's also something that they've been rumored about, what's going to look like. The Dodge Ram was actually just recently, the name was just trademarked and everything like that. So they're going forward with it. So there will be branding for it. But these two vehicles will be very polarizing when they come out. There's going to be a lot of diehards. They're going to leave the brand. And then there's going to be a lot of people that have maybe just a little bit too much money to buy them just to troll the demographic. Because we know the demographic of a lot of these, especially in the US, they are of a certain variety. And that's not fair. It's something that's theirs, right? Alone. You know?
True.
VinFast. VinFast is a company that has been controversial in the way that they treat batteries. They have decided that they want to sell the vehicle and then they want to lease the battery back to you.
All right.
So the batteries can be exchanged at the end of your lease. You can either you can upgrade it, I guess, or you can just change I don't know. Like, it's just really odd to me. Recently they have said that yes, you can buy the battery outright. Here's the price for that. But after looking at that pricing, it's very expensive. So we know that VinFast is coming to North America fast and furious. We already know that even in Canada, they have showrooms and dealers and repair shops and everything. Their training is happening right now to open in Toronto, to open in Lower Mainland BC, because we are the EV capital. We have the most EVs. So I already know that New Westminster, Surrey, and also Vancouver, they're getting offices. Richmond, they're all already getting dealerships and offices. And these vehicles will be hitting showrooms, hopefully, in some order by the end of 2023. And unfortunately, these vehicles, they're on the bigger side. Like, they're compact SUVs. So they're VF7, VF8, VF9, the 9 being the 7-seater, huge vehicle for an EV. Reasonable range, but I don't know how that's going to pan out in real world. Yeah. But some people have said that the driving experience is shit.
Right. Well, these 7-seater are quite popular in Asia. So, like in Japan, in Hong Kong, China as well, and even some of the southeastern Asia countries, the 7-seaters are really popular because it carries family in one go. And some of the mods I've seen on those 7-seater vehicles, they look so great. They look beefy. They look monstrous, right? Not very popular in Western Europe or in America, because obviously they have different vehicle types. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, they've also been kind of cagey about letting regular consumers drive them. The only things that I've heard from are basically the one trip they did, the 2 trips they did with influencers first and then automotive journalists. The one account that I read about them was that this is not an SUV. This just feels like a very big underpowered vehicle from what they're saying, because the suspension is not right. It feels like a jackhammer. You get on the gas, it doesn't go anywhere. It's supposed to have 400 horses, but then the engineer says actually 396 peak. So what's the bottom? What's your average, right? Like, this is dumb. So I'm hoping this is one of the cases where VinFast is either A, it's really shit, or B, the software that they release on the day of release is going to make people so amazed at what they've got that it wouldn't be a non-issue.
It's difficult because
Yeah.
you have Tesla already.
Yeah.
Market leaders, their software is top notch. Their cars
Yeah.
drive really well. They've been
Yeah.
around for many, many years, of course, since the early days. And
Yeah.
it'd be tough to get in on the market,
Yeah.
especially when you have big players like VW, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
And others.
VinFast is already dropping their cars. They've already shipped them over. That means the hardware cannot be fixed.
Mhm.
So if these accounts of the driving dynamics are correct, I have a feeling that this is probably going to be one of the first EV failures. If everything that we've heard is true, because they have, I don't know what their benchmark is for their SUVs.
Yeah.
But the North American benchmark for the large 7-seater SUV is a lot higher.
Oh yeah.
Than what they're providing.
Yeah. I mean, the automotive industry is what made the Americas, right? I mean, with all the big brands, GM and all that kind of stuff way back in 40, 50 years ago. So their driving is, the expectation is really high.
Yeah.
And VinFast, I haven't really heard of them really. And
they're a wealthy company. Like they have money in Vietnam, like you wouldn't believe.
But the only thing is you need to remember is also not just the hardware, the software, advertising, media, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of money that you need to spend on advertising, promoting your product, right? You also
need to deliver.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they're not going to deliver, but I want to be surprised. I don't want this to be the first entry of Hyundai to North America again, where all their cars rusted and they were shit for years.
It's going to be a hard learning experience for a new comer, but they could learn their lessons and then hopefully come back. See?
Now, someone that isn't a newcomer is VW.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're coming to CES with a brand new prototype for their next vehicle, which is the ID.7 Sedan. It's due to be shown off at CES. It's going to look like probably one of the, I think it's Proteus or whatever. They have like the saloon version of
it's like
the car in Europe.
Yeah, the 4-door kind of big.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
So it definitely competes against the Model 3 and the Ioniq 6 because of the way it's going to look.
Right.
Because a close cousin, Mercedes, the EQS, it's also got those types of lines and everything like that. I don't know if they can really do better than that type of design because it's slippery. It joins the ID.4, which is already in the market, and also the ID Buzz.
ID.4.
So target range is about 600 kilometers, which is actually around what the other vehicles are going to be getting. So it's going to be probably a premium type of offering, like some of the vehicles that are saloon style from VW in the past. I would have preferred a station wagon myself because it's more practical, also more in line with what North Americans need in terms of storage and space and everything like that. But you know what? To have a choice is great. And I don't know if they're going to build this in the new factories in North America, but if they do, pricing should be pretty competitive. And we have no idea what that is. So I guess we'll see. But this is what they're unveiling at CES, and I hope that they get good buzz out of it.
Oh yeah. I think they're VW, European brand. We're starting to see a lot of ID.4s and ID.5s. I've seen ID.4s in Europe.
I've seen ID.3s in Paris.
Yeah,
they look nice.
So we'll see how that will feed when in the US and Canada and stuff like that. So we will be seeing a lot more VW over the next year or so, or this year as well, 2023.
I'm hoping because they built another vehicle that they can take some relief off of the lines for the ID.4. It looks like a big vehicle, and I'm sure that most of the people looking for an SUV would gladly just get a car. And this might be it because it seems to be comparable in the amount of people they can hold, as well as the trunk is fairly big. So by the photos,
right.
One company that is definitely getting into it, and you've heard this company before, Honda. We all know Honda.
Yeah.
What's Honda doing?
Everybody loves Hondas.
Everyone knows
it's their
Hondas.
first car.
That's right. Most people buy their first Civic because it's their first dream car, and then they never buy another Civic again. Except for some people that we know. I'm sorry, Bob. At any rate. Sorry, Bob. Sony and Honda have gotten into bed together because Sony Mobile, their business, they have joint ventured with Honda, so they're calling their new company SHM, Sony Honda Mobile. They will be unveiling a new prototype that's taking all of Sony's electronics and UI and interface and everything, and they're melding it with a new body that Honda has put together for them, because again, Sony doesn't know how to mass produce vehicles. They know how to do electronics. So if they can mass produce electronics and the interior and the carriage, and then Honda does the rest and wraps it all around, this is going to be a very expensive car.
Expensive, a fun car to drive?
You know what? It'll probably be scalped like PS5s at Christmas time, but who knows? You know, like, I mean, if anything will get people excited, it's the fact that there's going to definitely be a PlayStation 5 like interface inside here.
It's going to have a PS5 built in. Gotta have it.
It's going to use their processors. The cell processors are going to be inside. And that means that there's going to be software involved in running this vehicle, right?
That's
we
good.
know that
that's good news for AMD then, because they're powered by AMD.
That's right. And I know that the PlayStation 5 they like that platform runs for a number of years, so we know that Sony does not leave platforms unattended for long periods of time. They do take care of the platforms of updates up until they're retired. But hopefully this doesn't, it's a car, it's going to be taken care of for longer than that with, like updates and security patches, and et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot to think about when you're putting a computer inside a car, especially like multiple consoles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So Stephen, I think in the future, could be next 5 years or so, we're going to be seeing modular cars. Right?
Potentially, yes.
Because we're going to be because like I said, like Samsung and PlayStation, Sony, and all these updates, right? Because there's only so much updates you can do on electronics, right? Yes. So imagine you could just whip out your computer, put a new one in, then you have fresh new updates, right?
That would be great.
If your infotainment is out of date, you just whip it out, put a new one in. If your dash looks like old, like something from the 90s, you could just whip it out and put something new in there, right? So everything will be modular.
I wonder what the aftermarket stereo market is up to, because this seems like something that's right up their alley, because I don't know what's going to happen. Like, everything's so well integrated. I mean, is Alpine going to be able to get in here? Is Blaupunkt going to be able to get in? Is Denon going to be able to get in here? I see that industry shrinking.
Yeah, it is shrinking. So unless they open up their licensing, right? Because licensing is probably expensive, and like you said, it's something that you want to put. If I was Alpine, whatever, and I need to upgrade the Sony Honda collaboration thing, then I need to get a license off them, and it's going to cost me a ton. People probably want to go back to Sony Honda instead of going to an Alpine to have their infotainment fixed. Oh yeah, I
forgot. Like Sony does have they have their car division as well too. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who opens up this interface to allow future upgrades. And speaking of upgradable and modular and everything like that, Canada.
Oh, okay.
Canada's Project Arrow. Now, we're not talking about the 1940s, 1950s, where Canada had the most advanced tactical aircraft in the world called the Avro Arrow. I know that this is a play on that.
The Arrow, is that the one that we have in the UK, when with the arrows, and they do all the the aerodynamic with all the air shows?
The Avro Arrow, the prototypes were destroyed. Some people actually, I think they hid them, because the Avro Arrow was the last time that Canada was a huge player in the aerospace industry. But because our government at the time did not wanted to, be more conservative and everything like that. You'll hear a lot about that. They did not pursue that, because they just shut everything down. They did not want a nationally funded aerospace or military program. So all of the engineers and everything went to NASA. So NASA owes a lot of their engineering strength to all the Canadians that left Canada when this was discontinued. So this new Arrow is a car. It's part of the all Canadian Auto Parts Manufacturer Association, and every single component, with the exception of one piece, which was the display, because we don't have display makers in Canada, that was sourced from Lenovo. is part of this vehicle, and it's 3D printed by a company. It starts with an X, and I can't remember their name. I'm going to find out what that is.
3D printed.
It's 3D printed. A lot of components are 3D printed, which means that the components and everything like that, anything that's custom, can be built and 3D printed and then put into production. They're showing off this as kind of a partnership gateway for people to partner with Canada for development of their own EVs and their own technologies. And they're showing off the final prototype at CES. They're ready to go. But the prototype is actually not a prototype. What they're saying is that if you wanted to build this car today, once they get up and running, it could be anywhere between 40 to 60,000, probably US dollars to do this initially. But with time and everything like that, it could probably come down a whole lot less because 3D printed materials, economies of scale and everything like that takes time to work out. This would be the national car of Canada.
That'll be interesting. Yeah. 3D printing has been around for a couple of years, more than that. And I think 2023 is going to be a big year for 3D printing as well. Like you mentioned.
They're building houses in Asia with 3D printing. It's amazing.
The small, because remember, the 3D printers that we have are small, compact, in a room and stuff like that. But now we're going to see industrial size 3D printing. We're going to be printing, like I said, printing cars. I mean, if they can print a 3D print a gun, which can stand how many pounds of pressure when you pull the trigger, right? Hot. You could be able to print like cars just like that. This is crazy. Huh?
All right. So moving on, you have a world record to tell us about.
World record. This was announced, I think, last week or the week before. I think it was last week. Asus team broke the overclocking world record at 9 gigahertz. So well done to them. It's quite an achievement because I remember back in the day, 7 gigahertz was the kind of barrier, but now they've broken that, so it's 9 gigahertz. So it's just crazy. And to achieve this, they used an Asus ROG Maximus Z790 board, Apex board. So if you don't know what it is, go check it out on Google, right? Using an Intel Core i9 13900K, the top end Intel processor, using liquid helium, not liquid nitrogen, helium. Wow. Minus 250 degrees Celsius, and they were able to achieve that. So it's just nuts. I'm glad they did that because the next barrier they're going to hit, hopefully, is the 10 gigahertz barrier. So imagine if that happens, then we know for sure technology is heading that way, and we'll see chips running at that speed in the near future.
Hopefully so.
Yeah, remember, overclocking is not just a geeky thing. It's one of those R&D kind of thing where geeks like people like overclockers do to take those chips higher so they know Intel have this kind of capability to run those chips at that speed. So that's
like car racing, but cheaper.
And DDR5 RAM. So as you know, DDR5 RAM was announced a year ago and so on, and we're seeing a lot more DDR5 RAM because the new boards are out and everything, and also PCIe 5 for the graphics cards and also for the SSDs. So we'll see more DDR5 and more PCIe 5 products dominate 2023 as a way to, the shift away from the older DDR4. Comparison, DDR5 speeds can go up to now 8,000 megahertz. Current DDR4 is around about 4,000, so it's literally double. And then the older generation of the PCIe 4 SSDs is around about 7,000 megabytes. For the new PCIe 5 SSDs, is all the way up to 10,000 megabytes per second. So we have faster transfer rates, faster speeds, perfect for people like us who do a lot of video editing, photo shopping. And stuff like that.
I certainly hope that the size capacities also get cheaper because, I mean, with those speeds, I can't have a tiny little stick of gum that is only 128 megabytes. I need something faster and I need it bigger. All right. Yeah. So much happening at CES. We'll probably have another show next week where we're going to be talking about some of our best stuff CES, where we're going to be looking at a lot of some of the announcements that actually did happen. So we'll probably be working on that show for you for next Wednesday. So wrapping things up, Winston. Definitely a wrap, and we'll probably do a roundup next week or the week before after. So this is our first podcast of 2023, and we hope you continue to bring you exciting topics, event coverage, interviews, and more. So thank you for subscribing and sticking with us. And if you haven't subscribed, click below. Yes.
So if you want to find more about me, you can do so on Instagram at Winston Chim or Twitter at Winston Chim as well. And so remember, follow, like, and share. What about you, Stephen? Where
You can find me on Elon's Hellscape at Twitter. Not at Twitter. That's Elon. That goes to his box. No, you can find me at Stephen Fung, where I will continue to be a positive light in this hellish, terrible, unmoderated space. But you can definitely find me there. I will try not to be too unpleasant to you. Just be pleasant to me, and we'll have a great conversation. Or you can find me on Instagram, where I do pretty much everything from tech to food to whatever that's out there, and you should be able to find some interesting content from me at Instagram at Stephen Fung as well too. And wow, 2023, good start.
So we'll see you in our next podcast, and remember, subscribe, like, and share. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.